Consider this. In light of the stories about the, quote, knockout games, is the mainstream media being called out by other aspects of the mainstream media? For example, MSNBC has competitors. Are other aspects of the mainstream media calling out MSNBC, for example, for fanning the flames of racial tension? Which is exactly what I and others saw with the way the media represented the situation between Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin. Black versus white and white versus black. And fear all around, enough to go around. An all-you-can-fear buffet, if you will. Fear of the black man, fear of the armed white man. And they're not done yet. So, right now, we have an increase in stories that are being covered by the mainstream media. And they're calling this a knockout game, and people are seeing these images of whites, in some cases women, not just men, being hit by young black men. This is not something that sits well with a lot of people. This is striking terror into the hearts of people across the nation. And in fact, there are worse things that I think we're going to see from society. And the people in the society, many of them have allowed the darkness of this world that operates through the mainstream media, through propaganda. They have allowed the dark forces and influences in this world to influence their behavior and their thinking. This is unfortunate. There are a lot of susceptible humans out there. Every racial group, both men and women. The majority follow what they're led to. Only a few think for themselves and lead themselves. Do we see aspects of the mainstream media calling out Chris Matthews and MSNBC for race baiting? All these years where they have worked to make those that are not in line with the current genocidal program that Barack Obama has been appointed, at least for now, the manager over a murderous corporation that will be in existence after Barack Obama is gone. We have been marginalized by the mainstream media in so many different and profound ways. And this is nothing new, and this will continue after Barack Obama is gone. Do people stop and think about those things? There's just so many points that I have on this that I want to represent. But this spirit of evil that we see, some aspects of youth participating in today, is nothing new. And I don't think that what we're seeing has reached epidemic proportions, being that I'm seeing some of the same videos over and over and over again. Now, having said that, this is the maximum portion of the solar cycle. And men, by and large, a lot of women don't know this. A lot of men don't know this. This is what I'm trying to express and share with you. Men are more violent. Men strike out at other men and women during these peaks in solar activity. And some people choose to become more conscious. It has a different effect. And that's another subject. But it's a subject worth looking into, because we are in these very intense and rapidly changing times. And a lot of change comes when we go through these peaks, on average every 11 years. So people are getting reactive, they're getting afraid. What they should be doing is also training themselves, training their body to be able to deal with an attack or to be able to strike effectively. There are far too many people in the society that think that you need to be in excellent shape, or there are some people that think that if you practice martial arts that you're violent yourself or looking for violence. And the reality is, when you're confident in yourself, you have a better way of safeguarding yourself against attack as opposed to someone that's afraid, that's sending out signals that they're afraid. From experience, living in Portland, which is not a perfect city by any description whatsoever. It has quite a bit of its share of violence, especially historically. Historically, Portland is a rough and tumble town. So, I've seen from experience that when I have shown confidence and my own ferocious nature at times, certain times I've gone out with a megaphone comes to mind. I've kept away dark influences, forces, attacking energies, and there are times where I have been vulnerable, and people have tried to exploit those vulnerabilities, even energetically. And some of these business relationships that I've had in the past, one of them being the Portland Preparedness Center, there are times where I feel like my energy and my time has been exploited because of a vulnerability. But when one walks confidently through this society, those weak, dark energies lose interest and instead focus on something that they do have the ability to attack, infect, or hurt. So this is another side, I guess, rule of thumb. There are a lot of people out there that carry themselves in a fairly weak manner through this world. So dark energies come at them when their vulnerability is there, when they are in a situation where they can be exploited, they are exploited. But the other thing that I want to mention in brief, I am not someone that you're going to hear blame the victim. But I do think karma has a certain role to play in why certain things happen to certain people, and I think it includes multiple lifetimes of things we've done in the past. And this cardinal rule of thumb, what goes around comes around in terms of lifetimes. I think that there are things to learn from times where I've been assaulted or things have happened to me. I think that there's been things to learn. And I know that there was a period in high school when I went through a lot of issues where I was getting socked in the face by people, and got involved in martial arts at that point, and learned to defend myself, and that type of era of time that a lot of men go through when they're 12, 13, 14, 15. And I noticed, fast forward to being 24, getting involved in activism, and that pretty much dominating my world from that point on, and looking at these things on a full-time basis, even periods where I went to school, even periods where I had a job. Alex Ansary really did change, and when my thinking changed, my life changed, and situations that happened to me were quite a bit different. So that's also what I have from my personal experience. So one of the reasons why I'm not afraid of certain things in this world is because of my experiences already, times where I have seen divine intervention, and times where I know that dark things were kept away from me. Where I know that in my heart, not just in my mind, where I have that knowing in my field. And I think that this is why a lot of people are scared about the future and survival. A lot of people do question whether the universal forces, whatever they be, whether they actually in fact will have their back or not, because there is so much suffering, because there are so many hard lessons that a lot of souls are here on earth learning right now. And I think there is a lesson on some level when people are victimized or attacked or hurt or raped. Having said that, here I am advocating people not be totally afraid by these events, but understand them. At the same time, they are going to get more extreme. And I'm talking about, I've talked about this for years. In a collapsed America, I believe I'm going to read more reports about women being victimized by groups of other men and women. Because we live in such a callous world, humans by and large have proven that to me without failure, time and time again. And it's sad, and it's not something I talk about a lot, but when I see how it disappoints me, because I don't like to see women being victimized, and I see women in this society not speak out against women being victimized in other countries or this country, when I see how this world's abuse against them and on them has kind of created a Stockholm Syndrome in a lot of people today, it saddens me, but shows me how much work we have to do to reverse things, but also how dangerous things are going to get, because there is an apathy factor that is so extreme. I can't even begin to go into it right now. It's worthy of a whole series of encyclopedia-sized books and exposés on how the human species got to such a broken state as a whole, how imbalanced men and women have become, and how we have become so divided. And the lack of trust, the lack of love, just this very cage, the walls of the cage closing in. And a big part of your life is not being a part of that and being affected by the things that they're trying to create for you to make you a weak woman or a weak man, angry at other men, angry at other women, whether you're a woman or a man. Just this era of competition and arrogance is over the top. Unfortunately, the dark forces have promoted it in human society today as a way for us to cope with our feelings of inadequacy. Those feelings of inadequacy that often come from the environmental factors that those very dark forces have created. A big part of this human experience to me is about going beyond those illusions of separation, going beyond the box, the religious box, the racial box, the class box. Yet you see so many voices around you. You see so many voices in the media, including the alternative media, that are promoting boxes and division and fear. Not an understanding of the actual root of evil that is behind this, behind the knockout game, behind the military man raping that Iraqi girl, behind the girls catfighting and tearing off the girl's clothes in the locker room because they don't like her or her makeup. So they rip off her clothes and humiliate her and tie her up and throw her out in the hall, and a report's written about it. Look at what these girls did to this other girl. Talking about a spirit of evil. I'm not talking about them as women or those young black men as blacks. It's not their sex, it's not their color. It's a spirit of evil that likes to infiltrate groups and even possess those groups in a satanic manner. And we, as good humans, should be speaking out against those humans hurting other humans. On the larger, think big picture with me now, go microcosm knockout game, go macrocosm world wars. Iraq invaded Afghanistan. Think knockout game times 1 million. Can you do that? Fox News viewers. Can you do that? MSNBC viewers. Can you do that? Bush supporters. Can you do that? Barack Obama supporters. Can you see how these wars of aggression are the knockout game times 1 million, times 1 trillion, and on and on and on? There's a big difference between a few people punching someone in the face and bombs dropping, people being blown up into little itty-bitty fleshy pieces. What goes around comes around. This is why we do good things. We seek to do good things. And this is why America is also in danger. Because what goes around comes around. And the demons that we face are our own. They are reflections of ourselves. These youth today playing the knockout game, they are a reflection of ourselves. And when things get worse, and women are attacked by aspects of criminal men in the society, it's also in relation to the apathy that's looking the other way. That apathy that men and women have in their heart towards other men and women being victimized by the forces of evil. The solution is for us to speak out against the forces of evil.